episode 13 already. It's hard to believe how fast life can really be for you. Saying hello to everyone out there who's in this moment. Sit in it with Tracy A. Martin. We also have a beautiful co-host with us, Dreamer Divine. Would you like to say hello to all who are here today?
Hello, everyone. Hope you are having an amazing day, and I can't wait to get into it.
So we do have no questions that have been sent in. Anyone that is new to Sit in It, this is a beautiful platform where your host, Tracy A. Martin, I am a hypnotherapist practitioner, life guide, intuitive. And this is where you can have absolutely any question out there. Do send it through email to support@livingwholeonpurpose.com. It stays confidential, only I will see who it is. If there is a question you're wanting to ask and you do not want your name given, use an alias. It will be used. And this is a place, it is a safe place. And this is a place where we take a hold of the broken mind traps that you've been indoctrinated in for so long, that have been conditioning into a form of way or belief, and we are breaking through them on purpose and having you sit in it if you choose. And so if you haven't been to any of them, this is your first one. There are 12 others right now because this is episode 13. We're here on YouTube at Opening Doors Productions. Please do follow us and let me know how you're feeling, like or not like. Lets me know who's being triggered, who's not cool with it, and who's really enjoying the Sit in It. We're on Facebook at Sit in It with Tracy A. Martin. It's a group on Facebook. Absolutely join us there as well. And you can ask questions right on that and be interactive on that group as well. This week, though, what I would really love for all of you to sit in and open your mind into is the word vulnerability. What does vulnerable mean to you? This is a very loaded question, and this is a very loaded subject because, again, no different than you believing that you have anxiety or depression. That is a hold that is put around you that becomes a belief of something that you are. You are not your emotions. You are not your thoughts. They are separate from you. That is why you're actually the one observing when you become the observer in the situation, to observe how are you feeling? How are you thinking? What are you thinking? What are you focusing on? And this is what SitNet is all about. And we're going to take you deep into vulnerability or vulnerable today. I have so many people that have come to me, whether they're brokenhearted, they feel broken, period, because they put themselves out there only to be stomped all over. And where we really want to go with this is where everybody has been saying that they really want to be their real, whole, authentic self. How can you be vulnerable if you are whole and real and authentic? So let's take you a little deeper here. Let's break apart what is vulnerable. There's no such thing as feeling vulnerable. That is a word that was put to capture a moment of what they've decided, no different than I have anxiety, which is a lie. You don't feel anxiety. You feel overwhelmed. You feel nervous. You feel unsure. You feel scared. Those are feelings you are feeling. And this is where emotional intelligence comes from, because this is where the intelligence is when you can pull through or break through what is going on to the actual feeling that is the context of what it is that you are feeling. So when people are feeling vulnerable, what is it that you are really feeling? Dawn, Dreamer Divine, when you feel vulnerable, what in your life, the many times that you had feelings of feeling vulnerable, what kind of feelings did you actually feel?
Um, when I am in that mindset or in that headspace of feeling vulnerable, you feel like your heart is wide open and naked, and you feel like you can't protect yourself because you're scared and you're unsure and you're nervous or you're excited because you know that when you put yourself out there, you can't control how you're going to feel from what the other person or the situation is going to play out, because it's unknown, and unknown can feel scary, and that's when vulnerability comes in.
Wonderful, Dreamer Divine. And let's take that even further in. So, to feel vulnerable, to feel like you are naked, which is really when you're projecting yourself or showing up in a certain way, it's because, like Dreamer Divine has said, you are being your whole heart. You're holding nothing back. You are being authentic. You are being real. You are being whole. Let's take it even deeper. What is it that actually makes you feel vulnerable? And it's the need for approval or validation. It's having that expectation that somebody will accept you, will agree with you, or will further into that which you are sharing. We can talk about vulnerability in when you are just beginning relationships and that intimacy, and depending on how open someone's heart is, of how they feel, of what they're willing to give, because most of you have been caught in the broken mind trap that love hurts, which is a lie, because only love is whole. Lack of love hurts. And one of the biggest things that I deal with people in my chair, especially when we're dealing with any kind of couples, and it doesn't matter the sex, whether it's male female, male female female, it doesn't matter. It's a couple. It's a relationship between two people. When we get into more of the intimacy of it, that's why people will feel more vulnerable, the word that they're feeling, and it's actually feeling like they're on display and they're waiting and there's no communication back, acceptance or validation back. And that's why people will feel like, oh my God, I put my heart out there and I got trampled on. You didn't get trampled on. This is, again, broken mind traps that make you feel broken or that something's wrong with you. Can anyone love like you love? Absolutely not. You are so individual. You are your own personality, your own perspective, your own idea of love. And again, like we're speaking in some of these episodes, what you believe love is and what you're actually running in the background, which is the subconscious play out, is truly what you are attracting to you of what love is and what love is not, which is the whole idea of love itself, because it's been repetitive your whole life. So there's no such thing as being vulnerable. What it is getting deeper into that feeling. So many of you have said to me, how do you just put yourself out there so authentic? Aren't you worried about what people think of you? When you are real, whole, and authentic, it's none of your business what anyone thinks of you. Everyone's allowed to see you, meet you, judge you, have an expectation on you, take something personally from you. It's their stuff, it's not yours. When you love, honor, and respect yourself so fully, you have integrity, you have true grit, and it doesn't matter who is outside of you. You stand in who you are because you validate and approve of who you are. And this is where I really want to take you deeper today, because There's no fear in being love. Nobody has to give it back to you, because love is not an expectation of what you're getting back. When you're giving love to someone, you're doing it out of your own honor of who you are and how you would love to be treated. It has nothing to do with what someone should be back to you. But this is the indication to understanding that if you are this person that you are, well, we're going to use Dreamer Divine for a great example. She only knows to be who she is. There will be people who love her. Absolutely. One thing I have to say to you, Dreamer Divine, is I'm so very proud of you, because absolutely every one of you that have been in any of the courses that have had you as their accountability coach have felt so honored. They have never felt judged, and they felt it was a safe space. This is a unique quality that not a lot of people know to be, because they're so busy trying to give it to themselves. And Dreamer Divine, because she went through these courses, because she chooses not to live as a hypocrite, guess what happens? What is the vibration that is ebbed and flowed off in that frequency? Exactly, living whole, having approval of self, having validation of self, loving yourself, honoring yourself, respecting yourself. These are very big qualities. And did it not change what your idea of what you think vulnerability is, compared to after going through all the courses that you've taken, to what is your idea of what is vulnerable now, Dreamer Divine?
It definitely puts a completely different perspective on how you can view it as an observer and know that it's all feelings, and you're choosing to decide how you're going to feel through that. And you're still allowed, knowing that you're still allowed to have all of these feelings. It's just completely different in knowing that some of them will not affect you in the same ways anymore, and that as long as you're being authentic and standing in your own power, then it's up to other people to decide that that is for them or not for them. And then you choose to move forward from there, because you know what's right for you, and what everybody else thinks or judges, like you said, or anything else, has nothing to do with you, because you're continuing to move forward and you're continuing to grow, and they may not be in the same place, and that's okay.
Thank you so much, Dreamer Divine, because all that you're actually feeling, most of you who will say, I feel vulnerable, you feel insecure, you feel naked, like many people say. They say that they're out, they put themselves out there, and it's like the whole crowd went quiet. And you have an expectation from someone. When you feel vulnerable, it's because of something you believe they should have said back to you or shared with you, reciprocated, whatever it is. And so the three basic keys, again, that I always like to speak to everybody in every kind of life shop that we do, anything, is about the three keys that give you that stance of who you really are. And it's letting go of expectation outside of the self, especially letting go of the judgment, because the moment you have judgment, it's because you're so busy judging yourself, and of taking anything personally. Because the moment you learn the art of detachment, being detached from an outcome of any sort, you create freedom. Can you feel vulnerable when you're detached from any outcome? No. You can feel vulnerable because you are not approving of your own self. You're still wanting to believe that you are who you are, and you have the right to be who you are. That you don't need approval from your mother, father, sister, brother, friends, colleagues, social, anything. The more that you see someone who is real, who is raw, who is authentically themselves, how are you not drawn to that? You're very drawn to it. And that's where our whole consciousness is moving into, because the whole 3D fake world that was inside out, upside down, and backwards on purpose to keep mirroring back all of the low vibration of who you do not want to be. Everyone's breaking through. They're over it. They just want to be free. They want to choose for themselves who they want to be, how they roll, what's important to them. And it's going to be different to absolutely every one of you. And that's what makes it colorful, because that's where real conversation comes from. When you are sitting in a group, it could be even just 3 people, and they're all living their authentic self. They show up on purpose everywhere they are. They all have a separate view. They have a completely different perspective, and they have no problem speaking it because they only know to be themselves. They're not there pretending. They're not there hiding. I am here to tell you that I don't have a lot of conversations outside in my own surroundings because I'm not interested in fake conversations that are all trying to mimic and wanting to be a part of the same narrative, because it's boring and it is not real coming from that person. It's just someone, and you can feel it. The higher you start vibing, the higher you are in just being real and authentic, you can feel when someone's pretending or trying to be something they're not. And it stems from the time of birth and how they started doing competing and comparing on people, and an idea of who you need to be or who you believe you have to be in order to get acceptance or validation. And it starts within your family life and then into school and all of that. And that's why you see all of these children right now with such open minds that can be completely molded into being a conformed group. Again, we will use what happens with this society of how the broken mind traps have been keeping you in a place of believing there's got to be something wrong with you, instead of you have always, always been whole, complete, and perfect. And you are continually the perfection of what you are. How then can you be vulnerable if you are whole and perfect? The greatest broken mind traps that so many people love to throw out there is that you are imperfect. And you have always been perfect. Everything in your life that you have been focusing upon, you are creating, and it is perfect because of the power that you put into it from the emotion you were feeling as that thought was playing in your awareness, that you fed out to source for it to bring you that exact same harmony of what it is. Are you feeling disharmony when it's something you do not want? You think you're feeling disharmony, but it's actually you that created it. How can you feel vulnerable when you show up there on purpose? I have so many clients of mine that have said to me, I don't want to be the laughing stock. I don't want to be rejected. I don't want. And guess what's going to happen? As long as everyone else, and this is a huge broken mind trap that they have really kept you and indoctrinated you in for so long, was that you are not important, that everyone outside of you is more important. How many of you watch tabloids, have to pick up magazines like Star, Us, People, and because they're so busy looking at everyone else's lives than creating their own? When you are real, whole, and authentic, you have nothing that you feel towards what anyone else is doing. Can they do something to you? No. You can choose to feel and take something personal from what someone is choosing. And by choosing to keep them in your life over and over and over again, how then can you feel vulnerable to the same person over and over again? Dreamer Divine, what was some of the life lessons that you realized where you thought that you were opening up to a certain person or certain people and felt shut down by them? And how long did you stay in that until you finally broke through and realized healthy boundaries needed to be put in place?
Um, you become aware when you're put in certain situations. And when you show up to a situation and you're 100% authentic self, and you know that you're not doing anything wrong, and you know that you're being the same person that you're being around everybody else, and everybody else is accepting of you, but when you get a different reaction and you don't understand why it's a negative reaction when that's never happened before, you start to realize that it isn't you and that it's based solely on another person or how another person decides to view you or judge you, and without getting to know you, even sometimes just based on a look or based on a comment or something that they take personally or they're going to choose to judge about you. And you learn that it has nothing to do with you. And that is when you get to decide whether or not you're okay being your authentic self and knowing that negativity is still going to be there, and you just keep your vibration high. Or you can choose to remove yourself 100% completely from that situation because it doesn't bring you joy. And so you don't have to give all your energy to that. You can choose to keep your own energy and not share it, and then not be a part of it anymore. And that's how you learn to set boundaries, is that if it doesn't make you happy and it doesn't bring you joy, then you do not need to be in that situation. Or you can be yourself and not let that other person or situation affect your energy, and just being your authentic self is enough. And you knowing that you don't take anything personally and you don't let people judge you because of it.
Thank you, Dreamer Divine. So let's say you've just started dating someone, and because this is where people will feel the most vulnerable or the most uneasy, because you're in the getting to know each other phase. And for me, getting to know anyone I find is super exciting because I am just me. I only know to be me. I don't know who to compare myself to because I only get to be me. And I don't care. I honestly don't care about how someone is going to view me, take me, decide of me in that moment, other than I'm observing you and how you react to whatever questions I may ask, because it lets you know very quickly who's guarding their heart or who has an openness. And that is where my idea of ships come from, whether it's friendships, relationships, whatever it is that you decide to use for categorizing, if that's what you do. And when we're first dating someone, especially of an intimate form, that's where people will feel the most, where they feel like they're on display. And who is the leader always first? There's always going to be one of you that will be more of the communicator than the other. And when you can have that great communication, it becomes explosive in a great dynamic. When you are vibing truly of who you are, you will bring to you those same beautiful experiences. And I love, love, love authenticity. I love how colorful it is. I love how different it is. I love how tangible it is to want to get into. Do I have a problem telling anyone that I love them? Absolutely not. because I do. I genuinely do love everyone because everyone is of the one, the soul essence of them. I may not enjoy their story because I'm not interested in it to write into my storybook. I will always love you and I will always want the greatest life for you. Because if I don't, then there's something wrong with me. Being vulnerable is an old, broken mind oppression that will keep you trapped in feeling insecure and needing approval from someone else. So, therefore, if you are showing up whole and you only know to be you, can anyone use it against you? Can anyone judge you? Can anyone have an expectation of you? Can anyone have their own perspective and view of you? They sure can. Is there anything you can do to change it? Never. Never, never, never. And the worst thing that can happen is when you show up pretending to be something somebody wants you to be. Will that relationship be sustainable? Sure won't. This is where we are, and this is why all of you who are grasping on any of these words and the feelings you're feeling in this today, I would love you to have that emotional intelligence to sit in how you're feeling. You have many things going through you right now, through your memories. They're just coming up of every time you believed that you put yourself out there and felt vulnerable only for someone to be scared and pull away. Wasn't that the greatest gift that ever happened to you? You may have wanted someone so bad, but you could not match frequencies. You may have thought that your magnetic attraction was just to a physical idea of what you thought they would be for you. It sure cuts the shit out of the way when you can show up whole, true, authentic, on purpose, because then only will that person have the platform to be it back or not. Now, that being said, when you first meet someone for the first time, compared to the second time you meet them, third time, fourth time, and now there's a flow of getting to know each other. Is it okay that there are some people out there that are guarding their hearts? And are those people that once they feel safe will completely open up even more? Yes, absolutely. Does everybody have an idea? Does everybody have baggage that they've been holding on to that they decided made them who they are? Yeah. Do you have baggage with you when you're real, authentic, and true now? No. You're no different again than that beautiful baby that I use for an analogy all the time. Babies are so perfect. They're the closest from the other side. They know that they are just beautiful vessels of light. They know, feel, and allow to flow through them in moments. What is the feeling that they are feeling? They know it is not them. It is just a feeling. So therefore, they let it flow through them. That's why they can be happy, sad, hungry, have a poop, and go to sleep, all within a moments of time. And it's because they know that they are a processing unit, this vessel, this beautiful satellite that's giving and receiving energy of everything around them. The more you are flowing in who you are, that's why you can just cry out of nowhere. Because I'm here to tell you that the more authentic you are, you have nothing to hide. And will you have a moment of anger or frustration come through you and it's gone in the next moment because you're allowed to allow that feeling to flow through whatever it was, instead of deciding to stay in that focus point and let it roll forward continually into something that you do not want and becoming the victim in it and blaming everybody else for it. So to flow and just show up, you have nothing to hide anymore. I have no issues crying out of joy, out of sadness, out of despair, I have no issues laughing because it is amazing. And how many of you, I've heard so many people tell me that they don't laugh out loud very much because they feel vulnerable because of how people will judge how they laugh or how you will answer a question around a group of people and it may be completely different than what everyone's talking about. How many of you become quiet and say nothing because you don't want to be judged, because you're feeling vulnerable about what kind of approval or validation you're going to get from them? Instead of, isn't it great when you are having a conversation and someone brings a brand new perspective in? Boy, creator moment. Aren't you glad that the more that you love, honor, and respect yourself, that there's no reason to feel any of those oppression marks of vulnerable, to feel compared or competed with, to have any judgment on yourself, knowing you are who you are. Every step that you made was on purpose. So when you're real and authentic, you want to make it count because it is counting no matter what. Dreamer Divine, what words do you have to say to our viewers today of the first steps in unlearning, unwinding, unraveling, breaking through, feeling vulnerable?
I think just knowing that when you put your heart out in the open like that, or be naked and put yourself out there to it, I think that if you think to look at the bigger picture, sometimes even looking back at past relationships or whatever, when you felt that way the most, there's always an experience or a lesson through that. And I think that if you didn't put yourself out there, you didn't open your heart, you wouldn't get to experience all these things, and you wouldn't get to learn and grow from them as you move forward, learning more of what you want and what you don't want, and what, what makes you happy, what doesn't make you happy. And so I think the more that you take those leaps of faith and just put it out there to whatever is going to happen or whatever's going to play out in the situation, it definitely makes you stronger to learn more and go deeper about yourself, even, and learn more about yourself, to know that it's going to be okay, and that you go through everything, and even your hardest struggles, you always learn something, and it's always an experience. And I think that's the coolest thing, is that if we never took those, we would be in the same spot, and our life wouldn't be full of creative, colorful moments, because we wouldn't be learning anything, and we wouldn't be moving forward and growing. And so I think it's just really cool when you have the bravery, and it does take bravery and courage to open your heart like that, because all the feelings come out, and you get to feel all the feelings. But we're human, and that's what we do, is we feel things and we move through things. And so when you are brave enough to do that, you can create great experiences, because you have no idea who else is seeing or going through the same thing, and or falling in love with you at the same time that you're falling out of love with somebody else. Or like Tracy said about a laugh, you have no idea that if you let yourself laugh fully, being your authentic laugh and authentic self, somebody else could totally love your laugh and think that it's the best thing and bring them so much joy. And I've experienced that myself, where you laugh or you giggle, and that is what you're remembered by. I have people that remember me by that quote unquote cute little giggle, and it brought them so much joy that that's what they remembered, because it made them happy. And so it's definitely learning and growing and experiencing constantly, and putting yourself out there is definitely one of the things that makes all those things happen.
Thank you so much, Dreamer Divine. Everyone having a perspective is so important because you are the most important beautiful being here on earth, and it has to begin with you. because if you don't believe in you or love you, you don't get to be here very long. And you'll experience so much more hardship because that is your idea of worth. And so I'm so proud of so many of my clients who've come to me and had so many breakthroughs in such a short period of time once they realized what love is to them and what love is not to them, and the poison they kept drinking, not realizing. And so, this is what these podcasts are all about. It's about sitting in it so that you can break through it instead of continually lying to yourself. And, it's like, you know, there's big corporations, of course, there are making a ton of money off of everyone believing they have something mentally wrong with them. And as long as you start believing that mindset, of course, you're going to go down deeper and deeper and deeper into the idea of what you've decided is wrong with you. And the greatest thing I can say to you, the first step that can help you to begin breaking through is that everything that is projected into the masses through media of all sorts, because those are your hypnotizers, your brainwashing. This is the handlers that are continually telling you over and over and over and over again that you are broken, that you are not whole, that you are a victim, that you have zero worth. And this has been projected to the masses for a very, very long time. And so all these words that they gather into a grouping to make you believe you are something, instead of actually being able to get to the root of what you're actually feeling so you can break through it and then become the PowerPoint. Remember first that it is an illusion. There are an amazing amount of charlatans out there that love to manipulate, because the sociopaths that have been trying to use you to create is what's been happening. So as long as you realize that you are either feeding the illusion or you are either feeding the self, which is love, or lack, where are you? And this is where the observer comes from. This is why being the witness or the observer that observes everything first, that is curious. That curiosity is what's so great about being the observer or the witness, because you're just watching. You're not in it. You're not reacting. You're observing it. And then you're able to sit in what feelings are being generated from what it is, from your perspective, that you believe is being played out. I'm going to use an example of that, of how quickly someone can form a judgment from a point of view. And so I have a plethora of clients that I've helped from all over the world, and some of them being in the military. And PTSD, which is a trauma that you just keep playing back the memory of over and over and over again because of the feeling of guilt of what you shoulda, coulda, woulda, that happens always when there's a loss or a death or something that happened. And they were in a pod as a military group, as peace officers, and there were two men from this country that were out on the street, and they were yelling at each other, spitting at each other, yelling. And another group, another military group from a different country came, went up to the two, did not go like the peacekeepers were doing, to go to separate them, to walk away. This other military group came in and shot them both. Now, from his perspective, all he saw as a person observing, watching in, was two people yelling, and they wanted to bring some form of mediation involved for them to walk away, to catch their breath, to grab the ground. The other military group became reactive, and how they saw it is they believed they were being a danger either to one or the other, or whatever they were thinking, and shot both of them. Everyone has a perspective. Everyone has an idea of what was true to them, depending on what their belief system is and how they've been indoctrinated or educated. Those two men were brothers that owned the same store, that were in a fight because, like brothers can, they were fighting over being in business together, whether it was over finance, buying, not buying enough, whatever it was. It was a minor moment, and both of them were taken very quickly. Perspective in reaction is where you stay within the illusion. When anyone is baiting you, do you feel vulnerable? Absolutely. Have many of you, through this whole shit show that has gone on for and just intensified these last 2 years, by the way, because this has been going on your whole life, the whole bait and switch program to make you believe there's something wrong so they can come in with the solution. That's what the ego loves to do, is continually create some kind of chaos or drama to be the ones that offer the solution so they can pat themselves on the back and feel so much bigger instead of it never being an issue. And so the more that you stop and sit in and observe what it is that they're trying to project on you, you no longer react. You respond if you choose to, or you change the channel, or you shut the television off, or you move on to something else. So therefore, can you be vulnerable? I will never, ever feel sad that I was not loved back. I've met many, many people, and I find them colorful, and it's awesome. And who I am has nothing to do with them. But I will continually be who I am to you, because that's who I am. You can never, ever feel the way I am feeling. You can never, ever think the way I am thinking from my perspective and how my idea of love is that is going to. My idea of love that I'm giving to you has nothing to do with how you're choosing to receive it either. So Dreamer Divine, when you first started taking life shops with me, compared to where you are now, where do you believe your belief system had you trapped in?
It definitely had to do a lot with self-worth and not realizing, you think that you can be a certain type of person or act a certain way, and you may not even realize why you're doing what you're doing or why you're projecting or playing out a certain role depending on the situation that you're in. And yeah, self-worth was a huge one for me, especially later on in my life when I did, decide to get married and have children and all that stuff. And then it became about realizing that, even as a woman, when you put yourself into those different scenarios and experiences in life, that there's a lot of different hats that you can wear, because you're just increasing your I'd say, like, it's like almost like a resume. You're increasing your resume almost. So when you're married, you become a wife. And when you have kids, you become a mom. And you're just putting more and more hats on yourself, because were a daughter, and you're still a friend, and you're still a niece and cousin and all those other things. And the more you go into these experiences in life, the more hats that you put on for yourself. And so you do ideally spread yourself, or could potentially spread yourself pretty thin. And that's where your self-worth comes into play for sure. And you learn that you are not just all the hats that you wear. You are worth something to yourself. And when you realize what that is, the thinning can be brought back into making yourself whole again. You can take all those versions of yourself and put them back into one person, and know what you want from there, and where you maybe push yourself too hard in certain situations. And then you can bring yourself back to center, back to your heart center, back to going, okay, no, this is not feeling good anymore. And I'm starting to feel super stressed out or super frustrated. And it's about about what the whole podcast is about, is sitting in that and realizing and feeling and going, okay, we're going to start back from square one, and we're going to center ourselves and ground and do something that I want to do, what I enjoy doing, to bring myself back. Because like the analogy, you can't give from an empty cup, and you can't, because it just, again, spreads yourself thinner and thinner and thinner until it becomes, you become a shell of a person, you become a shell of yourself. And then that's when you lose yourself and you don't even know who you are anymore. And so taking that time, to go, and I'm a huge nature child, huge nature child. So I love being outside. So it's, even if it's just taking that moment to take my dogs for a walk and just observe all of the beauty and the nature and the trees and the flowers and everything. And then you're just back to that feeling of calm and centeredness. And then you can move forward from there. And it is literally just moment by moment that you recenter yourself and go, okay, that didn't feel good, but this feels good now. And I'm ready to take on the next moment and the next moment.
So again, like Dreamer Divine said, you're either feeding lack or you're feeding full, whole. And it is getting to the witness part or the observing part, and how, again, how is it the easiest way to pull you back from that ball rolling forward? Because that moment where you've been focusing on creating more of those moments, that creates the momentum. How do I bring that to back? I don't know, unless I know I don't want it. So I have to be observing. What am I feeling? What are the thoughts that I am sitting in? And I can slow them back, slow them down. And it starts by getting back, like Dreamer Divine says. What is it bringing it back to your heart center? Does this bring wholeness to me? Is this who I really am? No, it's not. And how does this happen? Most of us, the easiest way is to start breathing nice and deeply, to just start breathing and concentrating on our breath, to start the break point from that intermeet of where you're staying built in. If we can pull back and just start breathing, we slow the momentum down, we slow the vibration down, we get back to a centeredness, or where you feel grounded. And many people will, go outside in nature, and it's the easiest way to ground. To drink water or sit in water or be around water is amazing. It is truly a key that helps you. There's so many things that when you have a tool belt of things that you can work through at that point or break through, because you've got this plethora with you, you get back into that centeredness. I want you to understand you are not ever alone. You have a whole team, your spiritual team, who are waiting to guide you. They do not want any form of recognition. They don't need it. They know who they are. You don't remember. You not necessarily believe, but they are there for you. And the moment you go in and start to really, really talk through your heart, you access your higher mind or your higher self. And that is where all the magic happens from. You are not alone outside of yourself. There are many of us that are here, but you have to break through the broken mind trap that you are in it alone, that you have to do everything by yourself. That is a victim mentality that has been there on purpose for you to feel the suppression and oppression in. Every time you are going to the place of victim, pull yourself by breaking through and being the victor. You have to be your greatest supporter. Like I've said time and time again, if you believed in you like you did your sports teams, especially right now with many people watching hockey playoffs, people that are into sports, and they're going crazy excited about what they're doing and how out of their way they are showing themselves to be there supporting something else. Yet they don't have the time of day to be their greatest cheerleader. If they could cheer for themselves like they do their sports teams, they'd have it. That is how simple love really is. And it's the illusion that makes you feel like it's so outside of yourself that it's not attainable. So one of the greatest things I'd like to bring in is, I know a lot of you first time mums, and it doesn't matter what age you are. I laugh at people saying, oh, well, I didn't know any better, I was only 19. Oh, I didn't know any better, I was only 40. Age has nothing to do with the first time experiences. You can even be a nurse working in a maternity ward or in the heart sciences or whatever you're doing, and it is not your baby, and it is not 24/7. So the belief that you need to know everything is the first reason why you will feel vulnerable. It's because you feel insecure, unsure, overwhelmed, possibly scared, because you have this beautiful little bundle that you feel completely responsible for. Sit in what you're feeling, not what you've chosen to name it. The more that you can center yourself and really sit in what it is you're feeling, then that is where the emotional intelligence comes through, and you can actually feel it and release it. Because then you can look at it and see the tangibility of, is this, why would I be feeling this? And it's because of a broken mind trap idea that makes you believe you need to know everything, that you need to be perfect. And the greatest thing that so many of you have had to play in and sit in and become overwhelmed in is the fact that there's so many people waiting to compete and compare with you and judge you. And I've seen so many moms that have been in my chair and have been completely shamed on social media platforms because of something they show, and because everyone looks at it from a different perspective and decides everyone needs everybody's information, that it can hurt you so quickly and that they feel vulnerable. Do you feel vulnerable? No. Why are you even putting onto a social platform your life? Is it because you actually are looking for approval and validation from others? That is why many people get rid of whoever decides to be negative Nellies on your page, because guess what? You have the right. And that's the first part of standing in who you are, being allowed to be your authentic self, and show up, loving, being, and not caring who else's agenda may be in. I also want to let you know that there are more bots or non-human things on your social media platforms that are there and being paid to bait you, because they know that in order to feed the illusion, they need someone feeling a negative response. That is something else. If you want to go and start digging, you will find out actually, what are they bringing up on Twitter right now? The fact that I don't even think there's 20% of real users on Twitter compared to what they believed were real other people that had accounts. And those were just people paid to be pretending, part of the illusion, that have been loving and baiting and manipulating society the way they believe it. Does this help you to start understanding that everything you've been taught has been a lie? Does this start to help you have tangibility in what you've decided a definition is, when all it was something trying to stronghold you into something? Let's start getting back to the simplicity of what you are feeling. Let go of the 3D illusion that there is something wrong with you, instead of you just sitting in it, feeling it, and releasing it because you've allowed it to flow through. Are you tired and easily to cry and feeling more stressed? Sit there, sit in it. What am I deciding is stressing? What am I allowing to decide is stress? What is it that I am missing? And 100% of the time, it's you. You are missing you. and you're looking for it in someone else because you don't know that you are your own best friend who's been waiting so badly to play with you on so many levels. The more you become truly authentic, you love you. You are creating you in every brand new breath. We aren't guaranteed that next breath. We don't know what can happen in a millisecond to change your life on purpose. Create it. Be on display. Because guess what? It can't be held against you when you already know who you are. Dreamer Divine, do you have any words that you would love to say to absolutely everybody that are listening or watching today?
I would like to thank everybody again for taking time out of their day, their moment, their experiences to just sit and listen with us and to experience and feel all of this with us and to take what you need from it and move forward, or don't take anything, or whatever you need from this. We just want to thank you so much again for coming here and listening and just being open and open-minded to all of the things that we are offering. So thank you very much, and I hope you have an amazing day.
Thank you, Dreamer Divine. I absolutely love your energy on this podcast. It's just amazing to feel a different perspective that comes from you because you have a story that is your own solely, that you're continually creating, that becomes this masterpiece. And the greatest thing is, what I can say to you, you are already this perfect masterpiece, and it's just creating a bigger, more expansive masterpiece. Whether there's depth, more definition in there, more contrast, more color, that is who you are. You are not who you were 10 minutes ago. What you chose to do at 16 is not who you are now. You're here on purpose. You're here, whether you believe it or not, on purpose. If you weren't important, you wouldn't be here. And so many people who have left. The whole world changes the moment someone leaves this plane and goes back home. I want you to know that we are a easy reach away, whether it's by going on to Opening Doors Productions. You can contact me through there, openingdoorsproductions@gmail.com, or support at livingwholeonpurpose.com if you have any questions that you want to be brought up for people to be able to sit in, to have other ideas and feels around what it is you believe is going on in your life, that you're feeling you need other solutions, or just to talk, to get it out, to see other perspectives on. This is what it's all about. That's why we call it Sit in It. You are very important, each and every one of you. Every one of you listening is taking something and leaving something behind in this. This is just a viewpoint to help you to sit in and go deeper into the simplicity of what love really is. And when we get down to the bones or the roots of what it is, then you can't lie about it anymore. And you can choose to do something about it or not. But you have a playground to begin in, and you have so many tools that are there to help you to sit in it, to break free. So I love you all so very much. I hope that you choose right here now in these moments to create what it is you want to focus into, of more of what you want instead of what you're feeding of what you do not want. We'll see you next week.